will be September 7th to come and inspect our readiness as we seek to host the tourney. And away from that, of course, National Sevens circuit has just kicked off in earnest this weekend in Mombasa. Driftwood Sevens and teams are putting up, a spirited fight to ensure that they live up to the billing as far as their fan expectation is concerned. Homeboys RFC.
Well, it's a very good tournament that is usually a catch and racer for the Safari Sevens that is going to happen here in November, and also mostly it's the build-up for Kenya Cup now. The rugby season seems to be open and Driftwood Sevens is the start. We've got other major leagues, the Spurs all over the country. Let's hope that countries will go, most of the clubs will go out there and represent as well. Every day I say Mean Machine will be there and be doing wonders.
And contrary to people's expectations, one Paul Murunga, tactician of Homeboys RFC, the series overall defending champions, has just named a star-studded squad consisting of players with vast experience, of course bringing in former Kenya Sevens players in the name of Michael Wanjala, Cyprian Kutu and Leonard Mugaisi, of course having excluded the likes of Augustine Lugonzo, Bush Mwala and Oscar Yodi, who are currently training with the National Sevens team under the tutelage of Innocent Simiu. And if reports from the pundits are anything to go by, then Homeboys RFC will be a force to reckon with in the entire circuit. But Queens are the defending champions of Driftwood Sevens and are also looking forward to put up a glittering show.
Remember, Homeboys were given also a leg in the series, so they have got to show why they have been given the leg. So coming with a very strong squad sends that message altogether.
And during last season, they bagged both titles of Kabeberi, Dala Sevens and Prince Lu Sevens in Nakuru, missing out on Driftwood Sevens, which Paul Murunga has insisted that they must win this weekend. We shall be looking forward to see how that pans out and keep you posted as the tournament progresses.
Well, also transfer deadline on 31st of August happened and many teams got what they want. Who are the winners and who are the losers? We'll be talking that in detail in one of our segments here on the Touchline. But we've got to pass through and ask ourselves here, who was the winner of the transfer deadline? Because Jose Mourinho, for him, he did his transfers early. Came deadline day, he was quiet. He was actually in Zurich attending a UEFA conference for elite coaches. What about Arsene Wenger? What did he manage to do? Conte, what happened to them? But also other managers like Sampaoli, Allegri also had what they had today. If I ask you outright, winners and losers, who will you say was a winner and who was a loser?
It is something many won't agree with me and read from the same script with me, but the overall winners as far as international transfers, whose elimination came, I think a day ago on 31st, are French moneybags, Paris Saint-Germain. They have acquired services of high profile and phenomenal and exceptional players. Neymar from Barcelona, whooping cash move alongside, Kylian Mbappe, who's just made a loan move from Monaco, joining them, and the attacking department will be a sparkling department when it comes to European football. And losers, Arsenal Football Club. They failed to acquire players who matter, who can probably assist them to qualify for UEFA Champions League next season, having finished 5th on English Premier League log, and as we speak right now, they are struggling in top tier. Probably Arsene Wenger didn't think beyond what he ought to have done.
Do you agree with what Maxwell Wasike said? Losers have got to be Arsenal and winners have got to be Paris Saint-Germain. What about your team? There's one guy who will come here and he might echo your sentiments and say Arsenal are losers, but also he can go ahead and say, no, they are not losers. For me, I'll be the neutral part. If you don't agree with that conversation on winners and losers, join the conversation on WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Facebook, and tell us what you think about the winners and losers of this tournament. 0700345457 is our WhatsApp number. Join us in that conversation and tell us, who do you think was a winner in the transfer window? Who was a loser in the transfer window? And now it's all systems go. 3 matches have been played so far in the major leagues in Europe. Who is going to win? Who is going to lose? We don't know. But we've got to take a short commercial break. But before we go to that commercial break, you would like to introduce for us our next segment, because it was a conversation you had with one of the ladies in women and sports here in Kenya and in Africa at large. What did she have to say?
But before we get there, probably a sneak preview of what happened last night in Brussels as far as IAF Diamond League last meeting is concerned. Kenya replicating what they have done before and putting up a glittering performance, you know, 1500 meters world and Olympic champion and wonder kid Faith Kipyegon Chepngetich winning in 1500 meters race as well, alongside, you know,
Ellen Obiri,
who just bagged a 5000 meters gold during World Athletics Championship in London, and she did the same magnificent, you know, performance last night alongside Conseslus Kipruto, a man probably best replacement for Ezekiel Kemboi. He bagged 3000 meters steeplechase gold.
Let's hope that our winning in Diamond, because it was the last leg of the Diamond League, is good enough, because now we are heading into the road races. And Kenya is one of the best teams when it comes to the road races. In the second half of the road races, we'll be going there. But Cynthia Mumbo, you had a conversation
Cynthia
with
Mumbo,
her.
I had some quality and sober conversation with her. You know, she's a woman who forms an integral part as far as Kenyan sports is concerned. So passionate about the game, getting actively involved in various sporting disciplines in terms of sports marketing, publicity. And, you know, we talked on a lot of issues, and probably we don't need to preempt.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear it. On our segment, The Champ, this afternoon, we're glad to exclusively speak to a lady whose passion for sports in the country is so much unwavering, founder and chief executive officer of Sports Connect. Cynthia Mumbo, good to speak to you. How are you and how have you been?
I'm good. Very
How is the progress so far?
Good. I'll speak from an entrepreneur perspective. It's challenging. At Sports Connect Africa, we have passion for sport, but we're dedicated to bringing change and delivering value to the country and Africa with regards to sports and sports management.
Maybe as a lady, you've defied all odds, by the virtue of your agenda, venturing into sports. Probably what might have inspired the factors and reasons behind your joining into sports?
I love sports. It's that simple. I personally thought that I would end up playing in the WNBA or the highest level of sports. I used to run 100 meters in 13 seconds. And in all honesty, I used to believe that I would get to that level, but it didn't happen for me. And I promised myself that I'd create an opportunity for other young people in the continent. And I realized that the gap and the problem we have is around sports management and understanding the business element of sports. So that's why I do what I do.
Details of Sports Connect, what it entails, and probably whether it's been embraced locally by the stakeholders of sports.
So I'll talk about Sports Connect Africa. Sports Connect is a totally different entity. I really emphasize on the Africa bit because it's about Africa. It's about what we have. Yes, we're being embraced slowly but surely. We have just concluded about a month and a half ago the operations for the junior NBA, which was pretty big. We had about 450 kids participate in the tournament. We are currently working with an organization to bring in a product into the market, an isotonic drink. So that's something to look forward to. Personally, I have been incorporated into the LOC of the table tennis Africa Championship, which is going to be taking place in March of next year. And also, I am currently the Secretary General of the Kenya Basketball Women Commission. So, it goes back to the work that we do as Sports Connect Africa and the opportunities that we've had to be able to serve.
You have so much vast experience when it comes to matters sports consultancy and marketing. What do you make of the marketing and publicity of our game so far in several sporting disciplines locally? and looking forward to in the future? What's the expectations like?
I think we are trying. I don't believe in trying. We are trying. I think what people really and the industry does not get is the fact that sports is entertainment. We are fighting for space within the greater entertainment sphere. So you have football, you have basketball, you have sports in itself. But when I wake up in the morning, I can choose between sports and sports, local sports, and watching an international game, say the English Premier League or whatever. We don't market our brands. And marketing brands is not a one-day thing. Unfortunately, so much negativity takes over what the sport should be. So we have a lot of negative PR around sport. When you look at news and whatnot, more of what you see is what's not being done, rather than what a brand has done, what KPL has done, and this is not to hit on KPL or FKF. It's a general issue. We have not understood that we have to invest behind brands. We have to invest behind the brand that is KPL. If I ask the KPL today, how much have you invested in the KPL brand in itself? Not what other people are doing. The brand itself, around brand, understanding the brand, around brand exposure and stuff like that. I can assure you that we can't even have that discussion because people will ask, what does that mean? So we really need to have a total turnaround in how we understand what sports is and what it means, especially for the youth who are the consumers, the highest consumers of sports in the continent and in the country.
You are a certified FIBA manager, and of course your love for basketball also seems to be unmatched. Probably in case someone is interested to getting to that level, rather rank of FIBA management like myself, what's the procedure and modality like? And how does it cost?
You study. You study. So I was in the Basketball Federation for a couple of years, and I did a lot of research, and what came to me was that FIBA was offering a course. They have what they call the FIBA Academy, the FIBA International Academy, and the course is online. So really, you pay about, I think, 300 euros, thereabout, and you get to access the course. So if you pass, you get the certification. But you really need to have an understanding of, how federations work and how the business of basketball works, and you do the exam and you pass.
I'm reliably informed that 26 in 2011, at that young age, you managed to lead the national basketball team during All Africa Games in Maputo, Mozambique. How was the experience like?
Interesting, because I was managing my agents. So it was, I think, for me, one of the greatest wake-up calls and opportunities, if you could say, in terms of just throwing yourself and being thrown into leadership. But it was also, an amazing experience because I got to learn that you have to do what you have to do, and you have to separate your age and everything else from, what people look at you as and what you're capable of doing. And I managed to do well. I had a lot of challenges, but I trust that challenges are part of, the experience.
Talk to us about the journey and the challenges and the hurdles associated with the same, and even the privileges as well.
Sports is male oriented, so I don't like to use that as an excuse because I come from a home where there are no girls. I'm the only girl, so I mean everybody has a different experience. So you go out there and you have to work 3 times harder because you have to prove that you're capable. More than everybody else has to prove that they're capable because they're men. But I don't let that deter me. The journey has been amazing. I'm really focused on the outcome. Every step that I've taken over the last 10 years has gone back to when I said I really wanted to get into sports and to sports management. So everything that I do is really focused on the outcome, and I think we've not even achieved a quarter of what I think we are capable of, or what I think I am capable of, or Sports Connect Africa is capable of. But every journey and every step that we take, every action that we take is geared towards making sports a business in Africa, making sports valuable, making sports connected to people, and commercially viable especially. So every step, I look at it as every step counts. The parks have been amazing. I've traveled. I came back from South Africa a couple of weeks ago from the NBA Africa game, and that was huge. When I got to access, NBA stars, I got to meet Henri. I mean, who gets to just meet Henri?
Yeah, I saw the photo.
Yes. Beyond that, I've gotten to be accepted at Babson College, which is the top entrepreneurship school in the world. By virtue of loving sports and doing what I am doing, I got accepted by the Women for Africa Foundation on a course on women and entrepreneurship in Africa, which is, if you ask me, a privilege. There was only 16 of us selected from across Kenya, and those are the privileges that come, with being focused on what you're doing.
Some sports lovers in the country argue that you're biased when it comes to involvement in sporting disciplines. Probably your input is also needed in other disciplines besides basketball. What are you looking forward to?
I think what people see is what I, because I talk a lot about basketball, but I've just mentioned I am in table tennis. I do sales behind the scenes. I do a lot of consultancy behind the scenes. So sometimes you don't get to see me, but a lot of actions come from the things that I'm doing. From a consultant's perspective, it's never about you. It's about the client. So when I'm delivering to clients, I don't come out and say, we did this for this guy and that guy, because that's not the value. The value comes from their brand being seen and, coming out from the work that we did for them. So sometimes you'll not see me, but when it comes to basketball, I'm out there because I've always been in basketball. So you will get to see a lot of what I'm doing from a basketball perspective.
What's your general assessment about the growth of the sports in the country?
I think we've come a long way. But there's a longer way to go. Unfortunately, from a media perspective, we have gone back 10,000 steps, with SuperSport leaving. But, the guys have, other organizations have come up and taken up the space. Bamba is doing an amazing job. Chris is doing an amazing job. There's so much more that, they need to put in, but it's investment that is required. I think we need to have a conversation around what kind of investment needs to be put in from the sports themselves. There's some simple things that you can do that do not necessarily need you to, latch on a sponsor. And maybe that's why, brands, corporate brands are not connecting with our sports brands, because, ultimately sports brands have not built themselves. I keep going back to that because, it's about that. But, you can't build a sports brand if your organization is not organized, if governance is not proper, if your systems are not proper, if you're not running yourself as a corporate in an organized kind of way, in a systematic kind of way. We can't be able to move sports to that next level. So there's an opportunity, but we have to work.
Basketball-wise, how is the going so far? And probably as a main stakeholder of the game, are you trying to go at the grassroots and ensure that young people who are passionate about the game can get supported and incorporated in the same?
That's what I live for. Yeah, there's a lot happening in basketball on the ground. We are working very hard to get it out into the media space so that people can get to hear about it. We've just worked on Junior NBA, which is fantastic. But there are a lot of programs that are in Kayole, like FEBA. There are programs that are running in Kisumu, programs that are running in Mathare and Soweto. Amazing things. We've had 3 players that just came back from Basketball Without Borders, which is like the elite of young basketball players in Africa. And I mean, these kids are extremely talented. So, for especially like the girl Carol to make it to the top 10, she was one of the all-stars. I mean, it's amazing. So there is stuff that's going on the ground, as much as we are involved, but there's a lot more that people are doing. We just need to get it out to the, to the fore. And I challenge you, because now that I have the information, I'll send you to where they are, so you can do more of it.
Maybe talk to ladies outside there who's scared of getting into the game, and probably they are passionate about it, but they're just skeptical about joining the sport, thinking that it's a men's affair.
Face your fears. That's all I say. I mean, you are what you choose to be. If you choose to be scared, you will always be scared. You will always be stuck. But if you choose to face your challenges, you wake up, and every step, takes you to that next level. So Men are not animals. They're human just like we are. They are wired differently. We're wired differently, but that doesn't mean that you can't do because men are out there. You go and do your thing. I remember the other day someone asked me, to kind of calm down. You need to kind of take things slow. You need to calm down. And I asked, would you have told Oprah the same thing? So this is my journey, and I tell every lady out there, follow your journey, follow your path. You will fall along the way. Just get up and keep moving.
IAAF Under-18 Championships took place in Kenya at Kasarani Stadium, and it was a successful Tani Chan, a tournament meant for local based players, is also earmarked to take place in Kenya early next year. Maybe, what do you think about the organization of our game and going forward?
The only thing that made me sad with IAAF is the president had to tell people that it's free. You set a precedent because people will never pay for an event like that. And if you want to talk about sport business, you have to spend for people to understand that, I have to spend something to come and enjoy this. All the president, I think, or the advisors to the president should have said was, can you tell Kenyans, lipa tu miambili tu. It makes that much of a difference than being told free, because next time we have anything, the expectation will be that, it's free. Then how do you move sports to the next level commercially? Because then, you have no exchange when it comes to the value, the commercial value aspect. With Chan, my fingers are crossed. I trust that the team is doing their best. We are really praying and hoping that, we do get the opportunity to host. Kenyans are last minute, we're very last minute people, so I know that things are happening in the final minute. I know that Nyayo currently is being worked on. So we hope that we will be able to beat the deadline before the guys come in and check. And it'll be a good thing for sports. I mean, you hear, we've held the IAAF Youth Championship. Chan hopefully will host it. It's not going to go away. We have, the Table Tennis Africa Championships that is coming. We have rugby doing amazing things. So it's building. It's building. We're definitely on the right path.
And with regards to your position as the Secretary General of Kenya Women's Basketball Federation, maybe what are you doing to ensure that
commission within the federation,
you restore the lost glory of the game?
Kenyan women have always been excellent from an African perspective. At some point, we were actually about number 34 globally, which is big. 54, not 34, which is commendable. But we've not been able to invest behind the sport. Those are some of the things that we want to do to get partners and sponsors to come in and support the objectives that we are trying to achieve. One of the things that is critical to understand is the rest of Africa is moving. If you look at what Uganda is doing, they are investing in their youth. They are building programs. If you look at what Senegal is doing, I mean, when Senegal or Nigeria win, these guys are given houses. You're given a house, you're given $10,000 or $20,000. So how does a Kenyan who is going to compete in that same level going to compete? I can't compete with somebody who's fighting for a house, and I don't even know if I'm going to be given an allowance for going. There's so much sideshows when it comes to basketball here and sports. Basically, we spend so much on the sideshows rather than the ultimate stuff, which is the game. And everybody, I think Kenya has a problem with regards to just how we view things. It's not really just sports. We're constantly looking for the things that are not working rather than focusing on the things that are working, which is not good for the society. But there are people who are working out there. That's what we're doing within the Women's Commission. And we want this to be something that is adopted with the federation. We want to support the federation to make sure that ultimately basketball gets back to where it needs to be.
What do you make of Kenyan mentality of attending games, having mentioned that probably President Uhuru Kenyatta wouldn't have suggested that it's a free entry at the Kasarani? They have been quite reluctant, to turn up in large numbers, especially at match venues, and pay the gate charges. And maybe is it something that the sensitization program has to be done, or rather civic education?
I'll ask you a question. Jidana was here
yes.
A couple of months ago, maybe 2 months. Jidana was here, and after that, the other guy from Nigeria, Dibanj was here, and the other guy also was here. There was,
AKA from South Africa as well.
I mean, in a period of 2 months or 3 months, we had guys like this. Next month, I think 1st of October, you have Fali coming, and guys are paying 1,500, 2,000, 20,000 to go and watch these guys. Isn't that entertainment?
It is.
So why are people paying to watch sports? Because nobody's. I mean, I knew that Dibanj is coming by virtue that somebody marketed it so heavily. It was in my face. Every other 5 minutes, it was in my face, my face, my face. You know, there was money around it, put into it to sensitize. And we don't do that. Sports is like, it's like a soap opera, if I could put it. I know Arsene Wenger, right? I'm an Arsenal fan and I'm really upset right now. I don't even know what to say. If you watch Arsenal TV, there's a conversation around it. I know about Arsenal 3 seasons ago. I know about Arsenal 10 seasons ago. I know that Rooney left Everton, went to Man U, won everything, and went back, apart from the World Cup, and went back to Everton, and he's scoring, and Arsenal is still where it is. There's a story around it because we are consistently, reminded about that story. We are engaged around that story. We don't have that. I think the only teams that probably have that kind of story is Gor and AFC, because someone set up something called the Masheledi Derby and it picked on and it moved. So there's a conversation around it, but we're not having that with sports. How do I call them? Promoters. The same promoters that promote, entertainment events would be the same promoters that are promoting sports events. But we've not packaged sports as entertainment. Going back to that first conversation that we had, and those are the issues that we are facing. That we need to really get beyond having a conversation. Should people be enticed? Should people? Yes, they should. But then what? What is it? You have to invest behind the brand.
Your parting shot?
Sports is business, and we have to start looking at sports as business. We have to believe in ourselves. I tell women out there, go out there, actually not just women, it's everybody, and young people especially. Go out there, do what you want to do. The journey is going to be extremely difficult, but every storm, has a sunshine and some light at the end of the tunnel. So just keep going and believe in yourself and trust in God consistently. And do not disrespect people, as you walk along that path. Just keep doing what you're doing. And this I say out of pure virtue, have integrity. It's a difficult thing to have, especially in our society, but if you truly believe it, hang on it. I've lost a lot of business because of that. People are like, she's not going to take a kickback, or she's not going to... I get not called for so many of those things, but it's what I stand for, and I believe that those who trust and believe in my way of working, that, the business will come. It's fine.
The Champ is the segment on the touchline coming to you, courtesy of Y254. Of course, my name is Maxwell Wasika, and this afternoon we're speaking to a FIBA certified manager, founder and chief executive officer of Sports Connect, and also the secretary general of a commission in Kenya Basketball Women's Federation. Cynthia Mumbo, it was glad to speak to you, and all the best. I'll be looking forward to hear from you next time.
Asante sana.
Asante.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.